Good morning. I'm sitting in my wife's car in the driveway making this recording, and it's raining a little bit right now. It's a beautiful space to be in, sitting protected like a little shell out here in the rain, making a recording. I'm making this recording this morning because it's 5:45 this morning, and I've done my usual, which is I wake up at 3 a.m. quite often because I go to bed early. I like to go to bed between 8 and 9. I only need 5 or 6 hours of sleep most of the time. So I wake up pretty early, but sometimes it's extra early, like at 2 or 3 a.m. I'll be wide awake. And so I found that taking my sacrament at this time is a really productive way to utilize psilocybin, because it allows many uninterrupted hours where there's no family demands, there's no business demands. I'm already in a place of great peace and mental quiet. And so it is a perfect time to take larger amounts of psilocybin, at least from my perspective, and be productive. And by being productive, I mean, and what I want to make this recording about is why I take psilocybin. And I want to share this from my perspective because maybe it will, give some perspective to others who are on their own journey. I had a very unusual teen years or early adulthood, I'll say, that set me on a spiritual path very early. I'm not going to get into that right now, but that was a while back. It was many decades ago. And so I no longer use psilocybin as any kind of a tool for self-correction. Although I am 100% in the belief that it can be used for such, I wouldn't even call it a belief. It's just an understanding. It's beyond belief. It should be completely verified. So those that are in a certain state or a certain condition in their lives where they still struggle with what I want to call erroneous human concepts. Erroneous human concepts. Because from my experience in life, this is a very easy way to look at everything. I've made other videos about the frequency of life, how everything is vibration. I mean, a lot of this is common understanding to those in the spiritual path, but it may not be to everybody. That everything in existence is vibration. Every feeling, every emotional experience, every outpicturing, all of our supply in life, everything we experience in the physical body, from physical matter to emotions and everything, revolves around vibration. I'm not going to go deep into that in this talk, but what I want to talk about is the erroneous human concepts, which are the very source of all human suffering. It's the source. It is the cause of people's anxiety. It is the cause of depression. It is the cause of sorrow. Is erroneous human concepts. It is an error. And I believe that using psychedelics can assist in people seeing the errors so that we may take note of these errors and make a course correction. But in conjunction with just understanding that we're seeing errors, that psilocybin has an ability to cause a very high level of introspection to occur, does it not? When it's being used for, I'm going to say intelligent purposes, okay, or very disciplined purposes versus entertainment purposes, okay. Using it for entertainment is a very low use, how should I term it, inconsequential use of psilocybin. But consuming psilocybin with intention, for understanding, for using it to know thyself, is the highest form, or one of the highest forms. I think there's higher uses of it, but this is an extremely purposeful and potent use of it for humanity's current condition. Because a majority of humanity is in a state or within various states of suffering, different tiers of suffering, some minor and some extremely traumatic to the point where they contemplate suicide. All these conditions that lead to the levels of extreme depression and anxiety, which seem to be a very large proportion of humanity's distress, are directly caused by erroneous human concepts. It is what happens when we have the wrong ideas about life. It is a natural outpicturing of erroneous ideas about life. And some may say, how can this be? What are you even talking about? What I'm talking about is the fact that our consciousness is the single most potent vehicle of expression in our lives. It surpasses the physical body. Because the consciousness is the place of causation. The physical form and everything in physical manifestation is an effect of the cause. It is secondary. And this very fundamental principle is paramount to understand for anybody who's actually going to make tremendous gains in their life. It is paramount. Any great teacher has pointed this out somewhere on the path to their students. But so many of mankind don't even look for teachers. I looked with earnest, starting in my teens, for a valid teacher. But we don't even need physical teachers. We can just look in our own consciousness and find these answers, honestly. It's all there. And psilocybin is one of those things that allow people to break through, to have breakthroughs, to tap in to this underlying wisdom and knowledge that it lies dormant in each of us. Because psilocybin can help break through the erroneous concepts that we have all built up or accepted as a normal state of being from watching society or reacting to society. Because that's pretty much what mankind does, is it reacts to the stimuli of society. And a lot of the reaction is kind of what we'll call a knee-jerk reaction. It's a survival instinct. But what may work for survival instincts does not always translate into correct action. I have to pick my words very carefully here. But so what I'm trying to say is, the basis of this, my point I'm trying to make is that all human suffering, All anxiety and depression that mankind suffer under, and PTSDs of various sorts, is all connected to an erroneous state of being that we have learned or reacted or ingrained into ourselves by our reaction to society, our reaction to our circumstances, a reaction to what we were taught in school and by others or in books. But the moment one understands that these erroneous concepts can simply be corrected and that they have to make a choice, either to continue on in the same mental habits that are causing the suffering, or make a choice to change course. And this is one of the blessings of psilocybin, is it seems to allow one to see these new avenues of choices. It seems to allow one a vantage point, like an observer, an omniscient vantage point at times when they take larger quantities, to have a grander view of their life and the decisions they've made and how to make course corrections. These things become easier to see when you have a higher vantage point, when you're overlooking an entire map, mentally speaking, spiritually speaking. When you can see your whole life laid out before you, it's very easy to make course corrections, is it not? But it's a much harder thing to do when you're in the very thick of life, when you're just operating at the street level, just reacting to the stimuli that is thrown at you on a daily basis. People, interactions with your job, interactions with the government, and so on and so on. This is very street level operation. Whereas those who have learned the blessings of psychedelics and allowed themselves the experience of gaining a higher vantage point of their life can much easier make course corrections and to see the lay of the land. But really, this is just the beginning. This is just the very base level of what one can do with the blessings of psilocybin. But it is really this base level in which humanity struggles with their suffering of anxiety and depression especially. This is the very base level of existence. Once individuals can see and make the course corrections in their consciousness that have caused these natural results of frequency to occur, and put an end to their depression, put an end to their anxiety by having a correct concept of life, and just get out of the basement of existence where you're just feeling like you're fighting for survival, then I can't even begin to express what a blessing that is. Because that is the basement of existence. This daily battle that people have with their own feelings is the basement of existence. Many of them don't even realize what it means to even be clear of that, to put their head above water instead of feeling like they're drowning all the time. 95% of mankind have never even had the experience of putting their head above water once. That is the state that mankind is in at this time, from my own vantage point. I just want to communicate that because psilocybin has the ability to help people solve these very basement level issues, to get their feeling world and their mental world on a plane of balance that they have maybe never experienced before, where they can even begin to entertain the possibility that there are course corrections and proper concepts that they can entertain in their minds that would heal everything in their life that seems to be going wrong. And this includes every aspect of life. We're not just talking about our feelings and our mental states. We're talking about our service to life. What life brings to us as an opportunity to render service to other parts of mankind, that we may have a bounty of supply. And on earth we call this money, do we not? We call it a roof over our head. We call it a house. To have a vehicle, to have these basic necessities taken care of. Because the entire concept of scarcity is an erroneous concept. It is a fallacy that is so impregnated into the consciousness of society in whole, but it is a stain upon the potential that is available to all of us. The universe will provide. The universe is vibration. It has no limits. It has no boundaries. Every boundary we think that exists is an erroneous concept. Every limitation we think exists is an erroneous concept. Consider that. This is something that all the high beings that have ever come throughout history have shown, either through direct experience in their lives, such as Jesus did, showing how to heal, how to multiply, how nature will respond to you or respond to us when we become a proper recipient of our own inheritance. We have that level of validation that comes every few thousand years. A teacher of that magnitude comes. And then we have this basement level existing that we see in the zombie-like existence of some of humanity. So we have that entire dichotomy of experience, and we have to make a decision. What do we think is reality? What are we going to accept in our own minds? What concepts are we going to allow ourselves to entertain when we have examples throughout history, and maybe even in the present moment, such as I had, of someone fulfilling and doing all the things that Jesus did to this very day. These people walk the earth right now. And they are available to those who actually seek them out. They do not make themselves known. They will never go on to social media. They will never sell courses on YouTube. But these individuals are out there behind the scenes. And when a student is ready, they will be directed to these individuals occasionally. When the yearning for truth and for a complete correction of erroneous concepts is strong enough within the seeker, they can be directed to these individuals in their life. Life makes this happen because it is mathematical. Life is so beautifully mathematical. Frequency is mathematical. The longer we hold these concepts in our minds that are of a low frequency, an erroneous concept, that means our life is vibrating at a low state and is naturally attracting into its sphere of experience low quality experiences. By low quality experiences, I'm talking about every aspect of suffering. And that is every bit of erroneous feeling or false feeling such as depression and anxiety and sorrow and sadness and longing and and jealousy and anger. These are all erroneous states of consciousness, okay? These do not exist when one has lifted their mind and being to a higher frequency. They do not manifest. And this is the blessings that psilocybin can help instill in those that need the assistance. This is the gift of nature to help mankind correct these conditions. And personally, I feel psilocybin is the greatest of all these molecules that are out there, because most of the others have various issues. I want to make an entire video about this, of why I find psilocybin to be the most important of all the entheogens. But I want to end this recording now with just the statement that this is just the beginning. This simple correction of the basement level existence that most of mankind find themselves in is just the beginning of the potential use of psilocybin. But it is the place where most of mankind find themselves, and they need to make these basic corrections to get their head above water, where they no longer experience these states of these humanly accepted states of frustration and lack and all these emotions that are not productive. Let's just say that they do not serve any benefit to us. And once we can just get our head above water and experience that breath of fresh air, and to see this whole new horizon out there that doesn't even present itself until one achieves a certain baseline of consciousness. It doesn't even present itself. It cannot even be conveyed until one achieves a certain baseline of consciousness. And that's what I mean, to be able to get to the surface of the water that we are drowning under. Most of mankind don't even realize they are drowning. That's the sad state of affairs. They don't even realize they're drowning until one has an extremely high experience on a molecule like psilocybin, and they have or maybe they have a near-death experience, which is another way life slaps us in the face to try to bring us to self-correction. We'll have the so-called accidents. And one may have such an experience, such a freeing experience in their consciousness, that they may suddenly see what they've been missing, or at least know there's something more out there. So anyway, I'm going to end this recording now. I know it's been very vague, but sometimes things have to be vague. But all my blessings on your journey.